It's time to wake up and pray up, Finding Faith family, here on the Finding Faith and Losing Sleep podcast. This is just a regular old podcast of it being just for real average people finding their faith while maybe still having some things or thoughts that keep them up awake at night. So that's what we are doing. We just, I share my thoughts. Michelle shares her thoughts. Pierre shares his thoughts, and then Michelle corrects Pierre where Pierre is wrong because they are a married couple. That is Pierre and Michelle Wilson over there on Twitter. You can find both of them on Twitter at Peewee31 on Twitter, and you can find Michelle as well at Go Pack Go 411. She's finally in the winner's circle with her Packers this week.
Amen, Wes. That was stressful.
Pierre, was it stressful for you too? I know you're an Indianapolis fan and you're a Green Bay fan, so you guys were kind of probably both just rah-rahing at the television this past Sunday.
We weren't. So we were actually serving at our church. So we missed both of our games. We both played in the late window, so we missed it, and both of them won. So now we're trying to get the church to come up with stuff for us to serve some Packers games.
We did though record them, so we watched them as soon as we got home. Like I made a point not to watch anything or look at my phone while we were there. Like the pastor threatened to tell me the score, and I threatened his teeth. So, but I was only joking, I promise. But yeah, it was stressful when I did watch it. So.
I can understand that. We are at Finding Faith Pod over on Twitter. You can find me as well at Lofinet on Twitter. Don't forget, you can email the show if you want to email the show. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, or if you got a topic you would like for us to talk about, findingfaith.losingsleep@gmail.com. Pierre, this was, I want to say your brainchild. Maybe Michelle had some input on it as well, but we've talked about music before on this podcast. You can go back a couple of episodes, and I talked about Jenny Owens, and I know we brought up music before. I know, Michelle, you brought it up with your trips with your daughter to school or something like that. And so music is very impactful to all of us. And I think that there's a saying that I love about music, and it's that you don't choose the music chooses you. Yeah, you can't help but what you like. Yeah, what you like is what you like, and what you like might not be what somebody else likes because the music kind of does choose you. And I never really thought about that till I thought about it, and I was like, wow, that is a pretty good saying.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, music just has such a big impact, like on so many people from different walks of life. And with me, I'm a big lyrics person. It's not like the instrumental. I don't necessarily care about the guitar, piano, etc. I like the words. And I feel like God can talk to us through words a lot of times. And so that's why we kind of wanted to put this together. Like we've listened to Christian radio. We've been to the K-Love, Fan Awards, if anyone's familiar with Christian radio. And you hear the stories of musicians and kind of how music impacts their own lives. Mm-hmm. In return, their music impacts our lives. And we thought it'd be really good to have an episode to kind of talk through some lyrics, some music that has impacted us and may impact others.
Well, and to be honest, like in my whole life, I've been very much about music. And I think music has a very unique way of transporting you back to another time instantly. So, you could have something that triggers your thought that you haven't thought of for years. You hear a song and it can transport you. And quite honestly, it's gotten me through some very difficult times in my life. Just, I play a song on repeat and it's just, really helpful and just kind of digs in there and is, I don't know the right word that I'm trying to think of, but just helps. It's soothing. And sometimes, when I'm angry, that helps too. So, but I just think, like Pierre said, music has a unique way of impacting us. So that's why we want to do it.
Sure. No, it's a good topic to talk about. And Pierre, I think along with this, we're going to even put together a Spotify channel, or I don't know what do you call it?
Yeah, so gonna have a playlist of the songs we discuss, maybe even a couple bonus ones. It'll be Finding Faith, Losing Sleep playlist on Spotify. So once you've listened, if you have Spotify, give a search for Finding Faith, Losing Sleep playlist, and you'll be able to find the songs that we discuss in today's episode.
Are we going to be able to add to it too? These aren't like the final songs, is it?
It won't be adding, no. So sorry, you can't toss something in there that we don't.
No, well, I mean, I can come to you and say, Pierre, put this one on there.
Like showing up that we don't want on there. Like, so like my mom listened to like Keith Sweat growing up. I don't want Keith Sweat to all of a sudden appear up on this podcast playlist. It may not fit into the discussion that we're having.
Okay, well, that's understandable. And I do like what you said about lyrics, but I'm going to tell you, a good air guitar speaks to me pretty well, too. You know what I mean? Like, if I can get into the air guitar, Pierre, or just I'm twanging, doing stuff like that. So I like lyrics. Do what?
I can play the leg guitar.
Oh, I don't want to know what that means. Hey, so
leg the guitar, Wes.
Oh, well, I guess I can't. I just do the air guitar. I can't go any further than that. Pierre, so how are we getting started with this? Because this is your outline, and you have here on the first topic, like music for thought. All right. So a couple of mainstream songs that we may have heard or reviewed differently now that we're Christians.
Yeah, because I think there's oftentimes songs, in the mainstream that we don't think with like a God or Jesus type meaning. And when you hear the lyrics, I think some of those can be. You can hear songs that maybe weren't meant for certain things, but they mean something differently to you. And so I just wanted to open on a couple songs that, we've heard in our lives that probably weren't, meant to be, religion or worship songs type of songs. But when you listen to the lyrics, they can definitely be taken that way.
Okay. All right. And I think that, okay, let me just say this. I was raised, and when I say raised, I didn't come into the church until I was like 21, 22 years old.
Okay.
And so it was a very conservative church. And we didn't have music. That's how conservative it was, right? Because in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 19, it tells you to play psalms, hymns, spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. And nowhere in the New Testament does it talk about using instruments other than in the book of Revelation up in heaven. So the way they viewed it was that instruments were sinful within a worship setting. Okay, so we didn't have musical instruments. Well, coming in from the outside, I was like, I'm not a great big deep thinker. So I just went along with the flow, and I was in there, and I did those things. And at some point, though, during my Christian walk, I was like, some of these things just don't add up all the way. And so I would ask questions about it, and I didn't get a great answer. And it wasn't a consistent answer because I would hear people not using instruments inside the songs that we just sing a cappella. And then like I found a K-Love or a radio station like that, and if I had a song that was from a Christian station, that wasn't good either if I was listening to it in my car. But you could listen to AC/DC, Hell's Bells going down the road. I didn't ever understand the consistency in any of that stuff. It never made any sense to me whatsoever. So whenever we talk about some of these things, my brain got kind of twisted at some point. I don't want to say twisted. It wasn't bad or anything like that, but just it was all a cappella stuff. So whenever I heard a song like even like Sunshine and Rain, who was the musical artist that sung that? Was that MC Hammer or something like that? That sung or Sunshine? Yeah.
Sure, but I mean it's true. It's true because even like there was a movie out called The Jesus Music, and you saw that. Like there was a lot of hesitation of acceptance for music that wasn't like hymns. Like you couldn't have a pop, worship song. You couldn't have a rock and roll type worship song. But again, a lot of that type of music, like it changed lives. It led people, to Jesus. And I mean, just to open up, and we'll dive into some of these songs, like you'll have that with just everyday songs. Like before you even get into worship songs, there were other songs that, our parents and stuff were listening to that we had no idea what they meant as a kid. And you get older, you're like, oh, that's what that was about. So, I mean, it happened throughout. And so we just want to kind of point out to start, some of those songs. And I know one that Michelle's going to start with. We went to a concert recently, and there's an artist named Blessing Offer. Popular song named Brighter Days, but he's blind. For those that don't know him, so kind of similar to Stevie Wonder, plays the piano, lost his sight at a really young age, and he brought up a song that's a song that's pretty popular. But he said as a kid, all songs he heard, he thought, were songs to Jesus. And so we'll go ahead and let Michelle dive into one of the songs that he mentioned there.
Yeah, so we were at that concert, and I was just like, he started singing this song, and like Pierre said, he said that all songs he thought were written, about God or for God, and so, or for Jesus, and he started singing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've always loved this song, and he started singing it, and I was like, oh wow, it really could be. So the song he sang was "To Make You Feel My Love" by Garth Brooks, and the lyrics are, at least to start with, when the rain's blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I would offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear and there's no one to dry your tears, I could hold you for 1,000,000 years to make you feel my love. And then the part that I thought was really impactful says, I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I would never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. There's no doubt in my mind where you belong. And then basically I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue, I'd go crawling down the avenue. There ain't nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. And so that's not all of those aren't all of the lyrics, obviously, but I just thought, wow, isn't that true? Like it's a beautiful song, and Blessing is so talented. He's truly blessed. So he has the right name. But it's just incredible when you think of that from God's perspective about us. Like that's how he feels about us. And it's really humbling when you think of it that way. So we just thought that was really cool. And, sometimes now I listen to the radio a little bit differently when I think of all songs that could be Jesus songs to me. Sometimes it doesn't fit, let me tell you, but.
No, I hear you. I think the same way whenever I hear Sir Mix-a-Lot. No, I'm serious. There's a song now. We could say Sir Mix-a-Lot, and then we know what Sir Mix-a-Lot's song is, claim to fame kind of a thing. But there's a song out there, and if you guys haven't YouTubed it, it's a hilarious song. It's a great song. I love it, and the song is called "Baby Got Bible" is what the song is. Okay, and you've got to YouTube that one. I don't think that we could put it. It's not a bad song. I just don't think that we could. It's going to make it all the way to Spotify. It's a parody kind of song, and it's called "Baby Got Bible." You guys will love it if you haven't heard that song. That's a great song.
We'll check that out for sure. And I got one from the group Hanson.
Okay.
So if you don't know Hanson, they were popular back in the day for a song called "MMMBop." And it was just a real upbeat, bop, something like make no sense for the chorus portion. But on that same album, they had a song called "I Will Come to You," and it's one that came to my mind when just thinking about God and Jesus. So it goes, sometimes when all your dreams may have seen better days, and you don't know how or why, but you've lost your way. Have no fear when your tears are falling. I will hear your spirit calling, and I swear that I'll be there, come what may. When you have no light to guide you and no one to walk beside you, I will come to you. Oh, I will come to you. When the night is dark and stormy, you won't have to reach out for me. I will come to you. Oh, I will come to you. And I heard that song plenty of times as a kid, and it just hit differently once I got down that spiritual journey that we all started to follow, and that ultimately led to us taking a shot at this podcast. But it just hits differently when you think of it from, let's say, Jesus, speaking those words to you. I will come to you. You don't have to run to him. He's going to find you. Leave the 99 to find the lost sheep, etc. So those lyrics just meant a lot more to me in that type of thought process.
Okay. I hear what you guys are saying. I get that. And it certainly, I'm trying to picture Pierre listening to MMMBop is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, Wes.
Oh, yeah, that was a
No
song, man. I
idea.
sung it in the shower and everything. Not proud of it, but I did it.
No, that's all right. Uh,
He's a
it-
pink boy through and through.
Okay, all right, all right. I'm a bread man. I used to get up early in the morning, right? Or I still do, I guess. But I mean really early in the morning. And in order to do so, after being trained for so long to sleep till noon. Okay, so it was really really strange. I had to set an alarm clock in the bathroom so it makes me get up and go and shut it off. And I turned it always. I had a certain radio station that I turned it on so I could hear the music and kind of get me up and get me going in that direction, right?
Okay.
So one morning the alarm went off and I got up, I went in there and I heard the music, but it wasn't, I mean, it was just classic rock is what I usually had it on. It was very strange though. This song was so weird. And I sat there and I was looking at the clock because I had it sit up high on the shelf. So I couldn't just necessarily shut it off and roll back to bed. I actually had to make an effort to shut it off. And I'm sitting there listening to the song and I'm staring at the clock and I can remember it reading like 2:30 something in the morning, right? And I'm just looking at it, and it was a weird song. And Pierre, I gave this one to you. It was Rich Mullins is what it is, and the song was from the album called Songs, and the song title was Elijah. And I was listening to the song, and I have no idea how the the alarm clock got on this radio station. I just have no idea how it did. And I'm listening to it, and it's talking about Elijah. Whenever he passed away, the guy says, when I leave, I want to go out like Elijah. Rich Mullins says, when I leave, I want to go out like Elijah. I want to look back on the stars like it's a bunch of candle lights in Central Park, and it won't break my heart to say goodbye. And I remember standing there, real early in the morning going, what in the world am I listening to? And I was a Christian at the time, but I'm going, how people write songs like this? These are lyrics in a song, but it was such a cool sounding song to me. And the guy has got a weird cadence whenever he says it, a stranger cadence, I guess. And he has some strange accompanying music, not in that necessarily song, but in that whole album. And I went out and got that album, and it was just a fantastic, life-changing album for me. He's a guy who sings "Awesome God" and my God is an awesome God. He does that, so it's just a great album. But that one really put me on a different spiritual path to where I was able to start thinking about songs in a different way like that.
Well, yeah, I mean that kind of just goes into it. Even the one you mentioned, like growing up, I hear that. Our God is an awesome God all the time. I didn't know it was Rich Mullins, honestly, until right now. You just said it.
I did.
But you hear it sampled by other musicians, other artists, etc. And that's what we kind of say. So you're talking about like, an alarm clock, in a restroom, that you don't know how it got to that station. And I mean, those moments happen all the time. And I think we need to really take in those moments where, God may be trying to talk to us, do song, because it happens more often than I think people realize. So we got some other ones, personal, impactful. So I'll toss it back to Michelle to kind of go over another one of hers that's impacting our lives. So not just your mainstream now, just lyrics that have touched us in our personal lives and how we've kind of dealt with that.
So I have a few, but there are two specific songs that I'm actually going to talk about together because, and I'll just kind of give you a short backstory. Right before I got my cancer diagnosis, for some reason, there were two songs in particular that I just couldn't get enough of. I would literally go to work and listen to them on repeat. Like my old office coworkers will tell you, like they heard these songs a lot because there was just something about them. I didn't understand why I liked them so much. I didn't understand why I wanted and had a desire to listen to them over and over again. And then come, December, and I got my diagnosis, and Pierre played one of them in the house that we were renting. And all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, that's why they resonated with me so much, is because those songs are what I need right now, desperately. And so the first one was Evan Kraft has a song called Be All Right. And I'm not even going to start at the very beginning. I'm kind of going to jump down to the middle of the song, and it says, Father, you say everything is going to be all right, but my circumstances say I won't last through the night. I need your word to hold me now. Need you to pull me through. Hold on. I need a miracle, a breakthrough. I need you. They say you hold the whole universe in your hand, but my world's falling apart like it's made of sand. Am I small enough to slip through the cracks? Can you take my broken pieces and put them back? Give me faith to believe that you are on my side. Open my eyes to see you're working in my life. Let the past remind me you never fail. Tell my soul it is well. So that's the first one. I think it probably speaks for itself as to why that resonated with me. And I'm sorry for getting emotional. I guess I'm not sorry. I think it's an emotional thing, but I'm sorry if you couldn't understand me. The other is Jordan St. Cyr's song Fires. And I was lucky enough, thanks to my best friend, shout out to my best friend, Nikki, to meet Jordan St. Cyr and to be able to tell him how much this song meant to me. But it starts with, I remember how you told me that life may not be easy and everything I need you've already given me. I remember how you told me I can trust you completely. So why am I doubting when you proved that you'd fight for me? You've walked me through fires, pulled me from flames. If you're in this with me, I won't be afraid. When the smoke billows higher, oh, and higher, and it feels like I can barely breathe, I'll walk through these fires because you're walking with me. So there are obviously a lot more lyrics to both of those songs, but I just kind of broke it down to a couple spots in those. But I just feel like God specifically put those on my heart and made them stand out because he knew what I was going to need before I did. So I'll let Pierre, I'm going to, regroup here and I'll let Pierre go ahead with the other.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing though, Michelle. I appreciate that.
Sure.
So I'll dive in. I got a couple too that I'll share. And as I've kind of discussed, I've lost both my parents. And so both of these kind of relate to them. So the first one was one my dad would sing all the time when I was younger. Didn't go to church a lot, but when I did, it was usually with him. And it's called I Won't Complain by the Reverend Paul Jones. And again, it's one of those songs as a kid, you hear it and you think nothing over it. But as you get older, it kind of makes more sense. So it opens with, I've had some good days. I've had some hills to climb. I've had some weary days and some sleepless nights. But when I look around and I think things over, all of my good days outweigh my bad days. I won't complain. And, you hear in the Bible, you're not supposed to complain either. And I think that just really resounds. Like, this world throws a lot at us. And we often can grunt, complain, gripe about what's going wrong in our lives. But at the end of the day, when we look at it, I truly do think that our good days outweigh our bad days when we truly think about it.
Sure.
And that's just one that just reminds me of my dad, one that he sung, one my little brother actually sang at his funeral. So wanted to touch on that one. This next one just recently got to me. So we went and saw this guy with Blessing Offer, actually, and it's Brandon Lake. And so told the story. When my mom passed, one of the things she made me promise is that I get baptized. And that ultimately was a promise I kept. And it's why I'm where I'm at today spiritually. But he has a song called Talking to Jesus by Brandon Lake through Elevation Worship. And I'll jump down to the mama verse because it reminds me of my mom. So it says, Mama used to drag me to church Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights. Khaki pants and a polo shirt. Boy, I put up a fight. She said, son, someday you'll thank me for having God in your life. And yeah, I know she was right. Yeah, my mama was right. Because now I'm talking to Jesus. She got me talking to Jesus. She's got me talking to Jesus. Yeah, my mama was right. Now I'm talking to Jesus. Yeah, I love talking to Jesus. And I'll be talking to Jesus for the rest of my life. And that's kind of where it all came together. Like it stinks that it took her passing for me to follow through on that promise. Obviously, I wish it could have been done different way, but it still got me to where I am today. Yeah, got to listen to that song with my daughter next to me, and I hope that she will also talk to Jesus as she gets older, and maybe that's because of her mama or her daddy as well. So that's the next one I had on my list.
Well, look. Those are wonderful stories, y'all. I was gonna try to lift us up there a little bit. It was tough too because they're very thought-provoking songs, and so many times a song can speak to us and just rip at the chords of our heart and just play those heartstrings for us and move us to a place that we didn't even know existed in us on a regular basis. But you put all the you tie it all together with the lyrics, with the music, and people know what they're doing whenever they're putting those things together. That's why there's producers, musical producers and everything. And it can really emotionally lead us. And I had a moment like that one time. I was watching one of those gospel Christian stations on television, and Randy Travis came on there. You know what I mean? Like Randy Travis. And he was up there on stage, and it was just him and two guys and a couple of guitars. And he was just up there singing. I don't know if you guys know who Randy Travis is. I know you guys are up there in the northern part of the world, but down here in the South.
Travis is the reason I started liking country music, thanks to my little sister. So.
All right. Well, he was up there on the stage, and I really like Randy Travis. He's a cool dude, it seems like, and everything. And he had this song, and there was a lyric in there. And you guys have known my past. If you don't know a lot of our past, we have got those past podcasts that are in the archives that I don't think are very time sensitive. You can go back and listen to some of those and catch up to our stories a little bit. But my father passed away whenever I was little. I didn't even know who he was. And he's got this song. Randy Travis has this song called "Raise Him Up." And one of the lyrics of the song is, "If you never knew your daddy, like I never knew mine, it seems like everybody knows you're fatherless." My mouth dropped. I mean, just dropped, because I had gone through 28 years of my life and never been able to sum up the way I felt in my life any better than those three lyrics in a song. I was like, how'd they do that? How'd they put them all together like that? But it was just a great song. And the song is about raising up an adopted child, actually. And then it twisted over into how Joseph raised up Jesus as an adopted child, so to speak, because it really wasn't his biological son, right? It was God's son. And then the whole song sums it up. I don't want to ruin the song. Okay, I'm going to put that one in there. I know you're going to put it on the Spotify thing, so I want people to go over and listen to that, because I don't want to ruin what the end of the song is. All right, I've probably given away too many clues already, but it's very climactic, and it's like, holy cow! How does not every church not put that as their Easter song to close out the Easter service every single time? I don't understand how they don't do that, but it was a cool song to be able to hear them be able to do that. It's amazing how songwriters get led to be able to write something down on paper. And I think people can get led either by the Spirit, even if they're not Christians, to be able to write a song like that, And
here's a quick little fun fact, and then I'll let Pierre say what he was going to say. But our friend Tony Jackson recently, he's a singer as well, incredibly talented, and he sang with Randy Travis recently, which was super cool.
I'm not jealous.
No, I was just saying, like, when you hear like artists and musicians, like, they're telling their own story. A lot of these songs, they have a story tied to it as well. God speaks to them. I'm sure the Holy Spirit comes upon them with some, but oftentimes they're just writing out, lyrics to their life. And it just kind of comes together in song. So I think that's why it's impactful, is these are real life situations that are basically, pen to paper. It's just kind of happening with what's happening in their lives. And it resonates with us because it happens, in the lives of many. Obviously different situations, but same type of issues, same type of, highs and lows.
Yeah. Another song that's on there that I put, Lead Me to Rest, by the group Acapella. So it is an acapella song. You won't know it whenever you listen to it because they do a lot of harmonizing throughout. Very good production throughout all those acapella things. And if you haven't listened to the group Acapella, it's really fun songs. And Pierre, you may have been listening to doo-wop or whatever umbop is, whatever.
No, it's rockapella. I don't know who rockapella is, but they do like the Folgers jingle. Everything I wake up. I was like, rockapella has a Christian song? It was not rockapella. It's not about Folgers coffee in your cup.
No, this is acapella. But they had a song, and it was called Lead Me to Rest. And the lyrics were, I was hurting all alone. I was searching for a comfort I couldn't find on my own. With no direction, feeling down, my life was headed for disaster until you turned me around. Nothing ever had been able to ease me. When trying to please me, it only pleased me less. But when I learned about the way that you loved me, had to put your honor above me, and you gave me rest. I was like, man, that's my jam right there. That is my jam. And it's a Motownish kind of flavor, and that's my kind of flavor, Pierre. I like Motown stuff, Michelle. I can't help it. I had the Temptations on repeat for like a year of my life.
There's nothing wrong with that, Wes.
Well, Michael Jackson's a Motown guy. He's from Indiana. So, I mean, you speak Motown, you got to speak Jackson 5. So, I'm right there with you there.
There's one more song I had, and then you guys can go on whatever tangent you want to. Mine, and I'm going to lift it up, okay? Because we were talking about mine was Trip Lee. I gave you a Trip Lee song, Pierre, and it was called Robot, and it's a rap song, and it goes back to the Reach Records, the Lecrae, and the whole 116 thing. And that's a great song. I love Trip Lee. I love the whole group there with Lecrae and the Reach Records, the 116 stuff. That's my kind of cup of tea.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that song. It was interesting hearing it for the first time. I'm familiar with Lecrae, big Lecrae fan. I wasn't aware he was a part of that. But yeah, you sent that over, and it started, and I'm like, what in the world is this? But as it kept playing, yeah, Michelle walked by and saw my face. She's like, what are you listening to? I was like, that's a very good question.
He said, this is Wes's song.
No, once I realized what it was about and got into the lyrics, it all came together for me.
You didn't expect the 50-year-old guy to be picking out songs like that, did you? You didn't think that was coming out there.
I was proud of you, Wes.
Thank you. That's how I was raised. That's how I was raised. Any other songs that you guys wanted to mention real quick here?
Yes. So one of the songs that was sent to me by one of my friends who is also dealing with melanoma, with stage 3 metastatic melanoma, and she's the one I was talking about. Hers had returned, and when I was first diagnosed, she has always been very encouraging to me, and she sent me a song, and it was new at the time. And when I tell you I broke down listening to this song, I broke down. And then I have forwarded it on to other people since then, and it's just so impactful and so beautiful. And I've now been blessed to hear it in person 3 times, I believe. And it's by Katie Nicole. In fact, the most recent time was this past, was it Sunday or Saturday? Saturday. We were in Fort Wayne and got to hear Matthew West and Katie Nicole. And she sang it again, and it's called In Jesus' Name, the God of Possible. It starts with, and let me just back up a little bit, because this was her prayer in her own prayer journal, that for herself with her own situation, that she now gets to pray over other people. And that, I felt that prayed over me, and is something that I have now prayed over a number of other people. And so it's just incredibly powerful. So it goes, I speak the name of Jesus over you. In your hurting, in your sorrow, I will ask my God to move. I speak the name because it's all that I can do. In desperation, I'll seek heaven and pray this for you. I pray for your healing, that circumstances would change. I pray that the fear inside would flee in Jesus' name. I pray that a breakthrough would happen today. I pray miracles over your life in Jesus' name. I speak the name of all authority, declaring blessings, every promise he is faithful to keep. I speak the name no grave could ever hold. He is greater, he is stronger, he's the God of possible. And I'm telling you, that song is powerful, and me speaking the lyrics do not do it justice. So I couldn't recommend it enough.
Okay. I look forward to listening to it.
I'll go into another one here. So this one's by We Are Messengers. So obviously I've talked about my parents passing. And then you hear, my wife's battling a cancer, situation here as well. So I think this resonated with her more when we heard it live. It took me kind of hearing it back for it to kind of resonate with me. But it's called Close. And so it goes in and it says, there's a million things that I don't understand. I'm just being honest, God. Was it all part of your plan? I wouldn't change a thing, even though I hate the memory. You gave me a burden that you said you helped me carry. I know you're working all things for my good in a way that only you could. Maybe the why just don't matter. What if it's not for me to know? Maybe the point is just to trust you, find the faith to let it go. Because sometimes falling feels like flying. It's the only way I know. So I won't hurry through the heartache if it's what it takes to draw me close. And I think that resounds with a lot of people. You often hear testimonies and stories of folks not finding God, coming to know God, unless they're in their valley moments. Like it doesn't happen on the mountaintops. When things are going well, you're giving yourself credit, you're giving the world credit. And it stinks that that's the way it is, but that's just kind of how life goes. When things are going well, they're going well.
It can happen. It's just
it can. It just doesn't happen. Happen often. In many lives, you're too busy focusing on the good. Whereas when things go wrong, you often when you're at your lowest point, you have nowhere else to turn.
You're desperate.
You turn to God. And so some of these situations that happen, sometimes it's not for us to know why it's happening. He's working everything for our good. And honestly, sometimes it's what it takes to draw us closer to him. And what I've been through in life and what even we're going through now, is continuing to draw me closer. And there's times where that doesn't happen with others. Like bad things often pull people further away. But if you can look at the good that happens from certain situations and how it does bring you closer to God, brings you stronger faith, brings you stronger spiritually, sometimes it is whatever it takes to draw you close.
And I think sometimes it's not only closer to God, but closer to one another. I think it can help you to solidify your friendships. And see who your real friends truly are and who cares about you. I will say that I honestly believe this cancer battle has brought Pierre and I closer. I think our marriage is stronger, and I know that's all God. I give him 100% credit for that.
I mean, we are close. I even wear deodorant now. That's how close we are.
But one of the things that really quickly we have talked about is, I don't know if you've noticed this theme, but we've said when we've seen these people live, or we've heard these things live, it takes on a different feeling. And I don't know if it's just because there's so many people singing the same lyrics and the Holy Spirit is just there and it's powerful, but I couldn't recommend actually seeing people live enough. It is incredibly moving. It is incredibly powerful. That song that Pierre just read you the lyrics to, Close, we saw We Are Messengers in a little church in northern Indiana, and Darren, or as he says, Darren, was singing that song, and I felt him looking at me while he was singing it, and Pierre will testify to that. And he kind of like winked at me, and I'm telling you, I just felt like God was speaking to me and through him. And it was unbelievable. So anyway, I digress. Go ahead.
Now, I think that those moments can happen, and they can continue to push us on to do what we're supposed to be doing and what we're called to do, right? And sometimes we need those, I won't say reminders, but that's what they are. And certain songs can bring us back to that point. For me, a lot of these songs have to do with being saved and having salvation. And I think at some point during the whole pandemic and everything, I got wrapped up in the whole political movements and everything. And I was going to save the world through the political movements. You know, I was looking out for people. I was looking out for folks. And one of the things I forgot about was, hey, you know, people need to be saved from punishment more so than they need to be saved from the government, you know, whatever you think about it ultimately. And so my focus got turned off of that stuff. And so listening to the right songs, listening to the right lyrics can keep and looking at the right things from a scriptural standpoint can bring us focused back into our ultimate purpose. And that purpose is to spread the gospel, to help out others, to love our neighbor as ourselves. You know, those are our purposeful motives in life. It should be.
Well, I think you say, like, you know, I've heard my whole life, you are a product of your environment. So who you hang around with matters, right? Like you are guilty by association or not guilty by association, you know, depending on if your friends are good or bad. And then, you know, you hear you are what you eat. So what you put in your body is what you're feeding it. So the same thing goes spiritually for your mind. What you put into your mind matters. And so I think that's why the lyrics are so impactful.
And that's how I even got started more in Christian music. So when me and Michelle were dating, she was listening to, you know, your K-Love type of stations. And they had like a 30-day challenge where they pretty much challenged you to listen to their station 30 days straight and just see, you know, the impact that it had on you. And you listen to these songs and you just find yourself being more positive in your workplace. Like you're driving to work, you're listening to that music, you just show up more positive versus, you know, me, I'm grumpy in the morning. I don't like talking to people in the morning. Let me get my coffee in me. I'm one of those types. But that changes when you're listening to positivity and you're trying to share that positivity, you know, by the time you arrive to whatever destination you're in. And so a lot of these songs, they're just uplifting and positive. And sometimes they play over and over again while you're in the car, which I think Michelle can talk to one that seems to always come on whenever she's nearby.
So I'll go back really quickly to Pierre and I went and took Olivia to Elevation Worship, and he's a huge fan. I was so fan at the time. Now I'm a huge fan. But their song Jireh, I was like, I don't even know what that means, and like I'm not a big fan of this, like whatever. But we were at their concert, and for whatever reason, during that concert, they played that song and it broke me. I was so emotional. It hit me so deep, and it has followed me ever since. In fact, not long after that, Olivia and I was taking her to school, and it was playing in the car on the radio, and it played once. And immediately after, it played again. And I was so thankful that Olivia was still in the car because I thought I was losing my mind. I'm like, the radio stations do not do this. They don't play songs twice in a row, back to back. It just does not happen. And she was like, Mama, did they just play that again? Didn't they just play this? And I was like, I'm so glad you heard that too, child, because, and I'm telling you, as soon as I'm in the car, it plays and it plays over, and like, it just follows me. Pierre works out in the morning to Christian music, and I'll walk in, and the minute I walk in, lo and behold, that one's playing. And so its lyrics really quickly, just some of their lyrics are, I'll never be more loved than I am right now. Wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. It doesn't take a trophy to make you proud. I'll never be more loved than I am right now. going through a storm, but I won't go down. I hear your voice carried in the rhythm of the wind to call me out. You would cross an ocean so I wouldn't drown. You've never been closer than you are right now. And then it says, you are Jireh, you are enough. And I will be content in every circumstance. So it goes on. And I told Pierre, I said, I don't know if I want to talk about that one, because for me, I don't even know. It's different. This one is different for me. It's not even so much. It is the lyrics, obviously, but it's the overarching feeling I feel when I hear it, and it's just so deep and spiritual to me. So there are some songs that are just meaningful. This one is super spiritual, and I guess that's the best way I could explain it. And it's cute now because Olivia will be like, oh, there's your song, Mom. And then she has a song now. Tasha Layton's How Far is a new song. And Olivia's like, oh, there's my car song, or there's my song that follows me. And so I think it's really amazing when you hear from your children that there's something that is impactful for them, or that they recognize. I think oftentimes it's recognition, and I'm so grateful to God that, he's working in her life. And for me, that means more than anything. So.
I'm sure it does. And it's, I think the radio is going to be filled with all kinds of Christmas music that can have a spiritual undertone to it here coming up very, very soon. Right? Unless they start it on Halloween this year. I'm not sure how they do that anymore.
That would be okay.
But my favorite one there is the Little Drummer Boy one. And it may be just more the YouTube video more than anything with who's that group? Who's the musical group that does that? The Christian group?
For King Country.
Yeah, that's it. That one just rocks, man. If I ever get a chance to go see them live doing that whole Christmas parade thing that they do and everything, that's going to be fantastic. That's my favorite one.
Wes.
Yes, we are seeing them next month.
Well, I'm not talking to either one of you anymore.
But you mentioned, like our purpose, and that kind of ties us into how I wanted to close this out, because there's a 2019 study that showed that 89% of practicing Christians did not know their purpose. What do you think of that percentage?
That's high.
Do you agree with that percentage, Wes?
I could, because it depends on who they asked, of course, but also I think preaching could maybe get a little bit watered down nowadays.
Yeah, I can understand that. But even with preaching being watered down, like I hear this song, and I heard it before in the past, but it came on again, and I listened to it, and to me, my purpose just made sense, and it was more simple than I thought it could be. So I'll dive into it here. So we've mentioned Elevation Worship, Maverick City. This is another one of their songs. And it's called Mercy. And the opening relates, I feel, to anyone who has given their life to Christ. And it opens with, I'm living proof of what the mercy of God can do. If you knew me then, you believe me now. He turned my whole life upside down. He took the old and he made it new. That's just what the mercy of God can do. And before I dive into the part I feel our simple purpose in life, I want to go to some red letters, which is John 16:33. Very popular red letters in the Bible.
Yeah.
John 16:33 reads, NIV version, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. Going into this chorus, I feel that our purpose is right in the lyrics of this song. It goes, now I'm alive to tell the story of how I've overcome. It's his goodness and mercy and the power of his blood. I'm so glad that my freedom wasn't based on what I've done, but the goodness and mercy and the power of his blood.
Amen.
I believe that's our purpose, is to tell the story of how we've overcome, God tells us you will have trouble, but take heart because he has overcome the world. Our purpose is to share the gospel of how we've overcome because of his mercy, his grace, and the power of his blood.
Hey, yep, that is what we are supposed to do, right? When it all boils down to it, if you could have a pot full of water and you could just boil down what the gospel is, it's exalting Christ and what he's done for you in your life and what he can do for others as well. So that is wonderful thoughts, Pierre. Good job, Pierre and Michelle, both of you, for opening up and sharing. A lot of times people have a tough time opening up and sharing their lives. I've never been able to not talk, so it's it's always been easy for me to do, sometimes to my detriment and to my wife's detriment too at times probably. But that's why I'm in the doghouse a lot. But that's fabulous that I've been able to connect with you guys and to be able to share those stories with each other and to just get them out in the open, because people do lose their sleep here, as you so titled the show. People do lose sleep because they're trying to figure things out in life. They're trying to find faith. And that's what this podcast is about. Just sharing our struggles, opening it up, our lives like a book, and just saying, hey, look, we've struggled too. We've overcome a lot, but it's not because of our power, but because of what God has done for us in our lives. And it's a great journey, and it's an exciting journey to let God be a part of your life and to be a part of his and to surrender your life over to him. That it's a lot of fun. And people, I think, underestimate how much fun and how exciting it really is.
I mean, amen. And that's what it's all about, sharing your story, sharing your testimonies. And that's how you're going to reach others. They're searching for something and you have the answer. It's pretty selfish not to share that answer with them. So I just pray you can find the confidence to share your story of how you overcome, because it is his goodness and mercy, and sharing your story is going to impact others. It's going to help others because we relate, to other people. We're the shoulder to lean on. We're the disciples now. We're the ones sharing the gospel of who Jesus is. So we have to be confident and overcome some of those obstacles to do that. Yeah, it's fine to have fear. Fear can be good in certain circumstances. But even so, God helps you overcome that fear, and just sharing your story just goes so far. We've seen it in our groups. We've seen it at church. We've seen it in so many different places, how impactful it can be. So hopefully us doing so helps others to do the same.
Well, now that he said that, I actually have one more song that I had on the side, and I'll just tell you really quickly, since he said fear. It's Francesca Battistelli's called The Breakup Song, and we'll put it in there. But I won't go through the lyrics right now because we're probably going long. But I would highly recommend listening to it, because it's basically about breaking up with fear and not being afraid and being done with being afraid, because God's got your back. And I think we were going to do some bonus songs. So I will just say, for any parents who have young girls, I couldn't recommend enough Leanna Crawford and pretty much any of her songs. Especially, for anybody, but especially for young girls, I feel like it's super impactful for our family, and she's just an amazing artist. So those would be my bonus songs and my recommendation for parents.
Pierre, you told me that I couldn't add any songs to it, and then Michelle's sitting here adding all these different songs to the end of the playlist. I know she has preferential treatment. I know that she has that, but come on, Pierre, this is not fair. I have a list of songs.
If you listen to me when I was talking earlier in the podcast, I said we were going to add songs to the playlist in which the lyrics we were not going to discuss. So play it back. Listen to it yourselves. Okay. I gave you a heads up.
And if you remember what you said at the beginning in the intro, you said Pierre was going to listen to me and do what I said.
You are right. And you talk about reaching out and touching other people, or at least contacting other people to be able to spread the gospel. We would love to hear from you. You can find us over on Twitter if that's your cup of tea, at Finding Faith Pod. You can find me at Lofinit. You can find Pierre at PeeWee31. And you can find Michelle at GoPackGo411 over on Twitter. If Twitter is not your thing and you still like like to email, you can find us at findingfaith.losingsleep@gmail.com. And we will encourage you as well to go ahead and look at that Finding Faith, Losing Sleep playlist over on Spotify. And you can listen to all these songs in their entirety and even some bonus songs that Pierre and Michelle are privileged enough to be able to add to the list. I'm just giving you guys a hard time.
Hey, we appreciate it, Wes. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for the listeners. Truly just touched by the reviews that we're getting, by just the amount of listens. You know, we didn't expect to reach many people. I think we've reached 39 countries now, and that's just amazing. So we just thank you for tuning in. There's so many more podcasts you could be listening to. You choose to listen to us, and we're very grateful for that.
It's humbling, and we thank God for that. We give all the recognition to Him.
All the praise.
For sure.
I have no idea how many listens we've had. So that's good. That's good news. I'm just here for the giggles. That's all I'm here for. And the music and the music of the playlist. Hey, we do really appreciate everybody listening, though. Please like this program. Please share it on whatever listening platform you like to listen and like things on. Leave your comment there on whatever platform it is that you do listen to. And we always want to encourage everybody out there, find your purpose in life. Look for that purpose and be open and honest and truthful with God, and He will give you that direction.
Amen.